little bit on, but I fucked up with the lineup. But so you guys just give a lot of love and a lot of claps and fucking attention to the next comedian. His name is Andrew Fehrenbach. Give it up.
Thank you. I appreciate the adjustment because yes, I'm not exactly as tall as this fine gentleman. Okay, so how many of you guys were born just after 2000? Show of hands or wild gestures, anybody? How many of you were born in the 90s? Okay, a few, thank you. How many of you were born in the 80s? Okay, getting more elite. Okay, well, so for many of you, except for you, then this will be a wee bit of a history lesson. Because after all, teenagers in this day and age, they don't know how easy they have it. I mean, teenage boys and girls, no sexism here, they have virtually limitless access to pornography. Wonderful, magical pornography. You cannot go on the internet, you look for anything, and you will almost invariably find pornography. But it wasn't always so easy, kids. It was in fact rather difficult before. Before the days of the interwebs, then we had to resort to old-fashioned things. There were these things called magazines. Yeah, they're made of paper. You'd buy them in a shop, interacting with a human. Anyways, the point was, and this would be a rite of passage in itself, because you'd have to go in and hope there wasn't a girl serving. You'd have to, sort of quickly get the magazine, buy and run. I've heard. Anyway, no. Anyways. Okay, I'm lying. I definitely did that a few times. Not that many times. Anyways, so similarly, when it came to, accessing video material, then growing up in Britain as a teenager in the 90s, this was a problem because us Brits were kind of uptight. Censorship is a big deal, yes. 18 certificate and all that. There's only a few things it can include, and basically it's women's breasts, is the short answer. Movies do try their best to get around this rule, but they can't. And, in Total Recall, the woman had 3 breasts, so yeah, 50% extra. But the point was still, that's a limit that you really can't break. But like a teenage idiot, we thought, I'm sure there's some videos that actually show more. So, me and a dear friend of mine, we went to a place called a video store. This was a building that had a large number of video cassettes that you would actually pay money and rent, and then walk physically back to your house before putting them into a player device, and then it would show you the porn. Or at least that was the hope and dream. And in places like London and New York, I'm sure, there would be saucy shops where you could actually get stuff with actual stuff going on in them. But I did not grow up in either of those places. I grew up in a small, sleepy village in a suburb of Edinburgh in Scotland. And yes, this fell victim to the dreaded censorship. But we also were falling victim to our own denial. So me and my friend went down the video store and we found what we hoped were 2 incredibly saucy videotapes, which we thought, and hey, it wasn't 2 guys, just, love is love and all that, but no, there's actually a female friend. Yeah, but anyway, that's a story for another time, or maybe not at all. So, the first video we found was called Down on the Farm, which I realize that sounds suspect, but it wasn't. So we read the back, and it was like, 2 women discover a forbidden love. I was like, forbidden love sounds brilliant. It turns out they basically forgot to wear bras, and that's it. So anyway, but then... But, disappointing. The less said about that, the better. In fact, it was so badly made, at one point they forgot to cut out the director's speech. So there was him going, oh yeah, touch your thigh now, instead of the soundtrack. Wow, amateur. Anyway, but that's not the point of this story. What is the point of this story is somehow or other, we saw a tape which we couldn't believe existed in the shop. It was called, brace yourselves people, Strap On Sally 2. You can imagine how shocked and concerned we were. Least of all, we thought, oh, wait a minute, this is a sequel. How can we find the original? Are we going to be able to catch up on the plot? Is it going to make sense? We decided we're going to take a chance, we're going to go past that, and we're going to, rent this video, because we thought, yes, surely something that makes such a high claim must deliver. Well, so we put the video in, we sat down, we had our snacks ready, and sure, the video introduced Sally, easy, okay, we're already caught up, and then Sally's friend, whose name we forget immediately, and they talk about saucy things, yeah, okay, and they start, feeling romantic, yeah, bras are misplaced, yeah, but then Sally starts reaching for a bag, then suddenly, and the next scene begins. And we both look at each other and go, what just happened? And we're like, okay. And then, the format begins. Sally meets another friend, and she also has a disposable name. And once again, friendliness happens, bras, whoops, where did they go? And then Sally's hand starts reaching for this bag again. It's like, and the next scene starts, we're like, what an actual hell is going on? Until we realize, wait a minute, oh, this is gratuitous censorship. So clearly there is something in this bag that they can't even show us, and so therefore they just cut the whole rest of the scene out. And so as a result, what should have been clearly a 90-minute video lasted about 9 minutes. So after 4 of these scenes, we actively developed a phobia of this bag of hers. It was like, oh, yeah, you're getting friendly with Rachel or Susan or whatever her name is. It's like, oh, no, her hand's coming towards the bag, don't do it. And it's like, starring Sally, and the credits roll. It's like, you've got to be actually kidding me. I mean, they should have actually called it Sally 2, because that would have been accurate, because the aforementioned device was nowhere to be seen. I mean, they mentioned devices that require batteries, which I think we all know what they are, but you never see one of those either, so the closest you get is talking about it. But anyway, that frustrating evening aside, and yes, intentional innuendo, we did eventually find a happy ending that many years later, we did stumble across the 1970s cinematic classic, and I use the term genuinely, because, all Magnus News talk of washing machines, it was still absurd in the past as well. This movie was called Hot Rackets, which was set in a tennis club. Oh yes, where everyone doesn't play very much tennis, let me tell you that. And it's similarly as contrived. Yes, nobody gets stuck in a washing machine, but the plot is similarly idiotic. I mean, a man and a woman, the actual chauffeur and maid, they're going to visit a man in a greenhouse. He has left the sprinklers on, so in order to go into the greenhouse, they get naked. Seems reasonable enough. They walk into the greenhouse, but the man in the greenhouse isn't there. There's a back in 5 minutes sign. So what are they going to do for 5 minutes? Well, no prizes for guessing. Anyway, and then after a while, the gardener shows up, and he's blind. That's important. He goes up and he starts fumbling around randomly because he hears all these pots banging off each other because there's banging happening. And as he gets closer, he touches the man takes fright and runs away. The woman undresses the potter, he doesn't defend himself, and then the woman, how can I put it, goes south of the equator. And then the blind man says the unforgettable line, I can see! I don't believe that's based on scientific evidence for sight restoration, I'm just saying. But for me it was iconic, and it was hilarious, and it was absolutely ridiculous. And yes, it became a very popular hit amongst me and my friends. It was, because it was totally absurd. I mean, full-on electric guitar in the soundtrack, all amongst the whole movie. And I always remember one time at the end of an evening, we were like, hey, let's go home and watch this video. We've all been out to the pub. And we were all very, very thirsty. And so we didn't have any cold drinks. And what did we have but ice lollies? So there's us sitting around watching videos of all kinds of stuff happening. And all these guys were like, on lollies. But there was one guy who didn't know any of us really well. I think he got traumatized. He was like, is this normal? He was surrounded by guys doing as the women are also making that noise in the movie. They also dubbed it on just because, everyone knows that happens. But, I still have a little time left. Brilliant. So, and that's the thing. As Magnus says, pornography is not accurate. It actually spreads misinformation. And in the 90s, we didn't have Wikipedia. We didn't have Google. So where are we going to find out actual sources of accurate information? The answer was the rumor mill or pornography, neither of which, wait for it, are accurate. And so, sure enough, as a 20-something, I was fortunate enough to have a one-night stand with a lady from Japan. Oh yes. And you can imagine my astonishment when, as we got undressed, her genitals were not in fact pixelated. Mind blown! Didn't see that one coming. Anyway, I think I need to have a lie down, and you guys have been wonderful. Thank you.
Andrew Fernbach! Is he